Her left arm and her right foot
are
all gone.
And her arm and her foot? It's not funny. It's not funny. It's not... wait. We're gonna get into this video. It's called well, she'll talk about it. I don't need to introduce it, but what's good, YouTube?
Bada bing, bada boo.
Get your
The couple
snacks.
are falling asleep to the
Get your snacks. Get your little
noise of the train.
Drinks. I got
It's
my
almost
bev
hypnotic.
and my snacks
This
here.
time they had
So,
prioritized their comfort over being
put
financially responsible. They booked the
captions.
sleeper seats. Money well spent.
Captions.
I mean, their beds are tiny. They each get one right next to each
Let me know
other.
if the sound is good,
But they're
y'all.
still out in the open. It's a 3-level bunk bed system. They have a row of people above them.
It is like a
and a
story
row of people below them. And their bunks are just
Rotten Mingle.
out. Anyone passing through the aisle can see anybody that's on any of these bunk beds just falling asleep. But at least they can fully lay down and sleep the entire 11-hour ride back home. Gia, the wife, she shakes her husband awake. Husband Lee,
Why her
Lee,
face look
Eli,
like that?
slowly
Or
opens
like
his
not like
eyes
her
and he
face,
checks his
but like
phone.
something
It's
on her
1
cheek.
a.m. I'm gonna use the restroom real quick. Lee nods and he starts pulling the blanket off of him, but his wife stops him. Shh, it's okay, it's okay. I'll be right back. She points down
y'all
at
have
the
never
elderly
heard of
people
Rotten
that are
Mingle before-
underneath them in the bunks below. I mean, if both of them,
No,
her
no,
and her
not
husband
11
climb
hours.
down from the middle bunk, there's a higher chance that the elderly couple are going to wake up. And look at them. They look like they're deep in sleep right now. There's no point in disturbing any of that. It's okay. I have my phone. I'm going to be right back. Lee, the husband, hesitates, but he just watches his wife climb down the bunk bed ladder and rushes off to the restroom. He glances out the window. It's pitch black outside. I mean, they must be crossing through a very rural area because there's no buildings. There's no light coming from
Yeah, it's so
outside the
dark.
window at all.
Have y'all
Just
ever been on a travel train before? Have y'all ever been on a travel train before? Because I haven't. I don't think I have.
the noise of the train on the tracks.
Like the ones that you
and
sleep
then
on.
boom,
You know
the
what I
train
mean?
shakes and
You
Lee
have
jumps
to
away. What was
where-
that? He must have fallen asleep, and it must have been some sort of rock that hit the window or something.
I wonder what
He
it's
rubs
like.
his eyes and he checks his phone. It's 1:30 a.m. He looks to his left, and his wife is no longer in her bunk bed. It has been 30 minutes since she went off to use the restroom. She should be back by now.
She's dead.
His mind starts racing because
She's
that's weird,
dead.
right? He quickly puts on his shoes, climbs down the bunk bed ladder.
I mean, I think
walks
so.
to the restroom in their carriage.
That's
'cause,
what I'm
each
expecting.
train has a carriage. Carriage 13. It's empty. She's not in there. His heart starts pacing faster, but it's fine. I mean, calm down. This makes sense. Sometimes at the restroom in the carriage that you're
Ooh,
in,
I've never been to the Grand Canyon. Maybe I'll go someday. I don't know. I've never really had a reason to, but I've never been to the Grand
is
Canyon.
busy,
But that's cool.
you go to the carriage over. So he runs over to carriage 14 and he slams the bathroom door open. It's
That's
empty.
good, audacious.
She's not in there. He does this with carriage 15 and as many restrooms as he can before he feels this intense panic, this tightening in his chest. He runs all the way to the train conductor's
The fact
cabin.
that cases like
and he
this
starts
like
banging on the
actually
door.
like happen.
The conductor opens it up, 1:30 a.m. He looks confused, stressed. Please, you have to help me, sir. My wife is missing. The train conductor looks at the husband for what feels like multiple seconds because I think he's just processing what he just said. And then slowly, his lips just turn into a smile.
Oh nah,
He's
gang.
smiling at husband Lee.
Ew, what
What
a
do you
creepy
mean your
ass
wife is
smile.
missing? That's impossible, sir. Nobody goes missing on a
Ugh.
moving train.
Now that's a little Yo, the intro like always gives me chills, bro. These toilets without a toilet are so annoying, at least when you're not doing your squats. You mean like the little, what do they call them? YouTube, if you know what they're called, like there's a name for them. If you know what they're
We
called,
would like to
drop it
thank
down
today's
in the-
sponsors who
the
have made it possible
comment.
for Rot. Let's get
Squatty
started.
potty? No, bro. That's not
It
what
doesn't
they're
matter if you want
that's
to
not what
stop.
they're called.
There's
bro.
absolutely nothing you can do about it. That is likely one of the very first things that all train conductors are taught.
Does it sound
if you
okay,
press
guys, or
the
should I put
emergency
it
brake
up a
right
little bit
now,
more?
you will come to a complete
You want to see my
full
new
stop,
edit? Of
probably
course.
from a
If
mile
you're in the
from
Discord,
here.
drop it in the Discord.
There is no immediate stopping a train. Imagine telling a swarm of 100 elephants to instantly stop running at full speed.
This what audacious look like right here in the face. If you look at the eyes, or if you like squint and look really closely, like you can see like
It's
that's
not
what
gonna
his
happen.
face looks like.
And sometimes that means you watch disaster happen
I just
and know
realized what
that
you
there is
mean.
absolutely nothing that you can do about it. That is the only thought going on in the train conductors' minds when they see a body on the middle of the tracks, wearing a thick winter coat, just laying there.
Oh, okay.
Hurry, do something.
That's all
They
right.
both know
Like,
that
it's,
there's
you know, totally
nothing
optional
either of them
being in
can do.
Discord.
They pull the emergency brakes and stop a mile later.
Mind you, I should like also mention that, like, you know, Discord's still a work in the process. I do what I can. But yeah, join the Discord if you're not already in the Discord, you know.
After 30 seconds, that's how long it takes to come to a complete stop. Hurry, somebody call the police. We gotta go. Everything is happening so fast but so slow at the same time. The way that the train
killed
hit
her, bro?
and ran over the body in the winter coat was so quick and so subtle that they couldn't even visually see the body. It's likely they wouldn't even have noticed or felt it if they hadn't made eye contact. There was a train conductor who hit a cow once, a 1,000-pound plus cow, and they said it felt like when you're driving on the highway, a small bee hits your window. You kind of hear the sound, but you don't feel the whole car shake.
Can you imagine?
It doesn't even dent your window. That's what it felt like. So of course, they didn't feel anything with the winter coat on the tracks. But now they're trying to head back as quickly as possible to check and see if everything is okay. Who is it? Why are they laying on the tracks in a giant puffy winter coat? What the hell is going on? They rush all the way back to this now blood red soaked winter coat that looks completely mangled. And instead of a human, they see a deer. Dead. Someone had put a winter coat on a deer and laid it down on the tracks. That's
what I'm
the very
saying.
Strange life of a train conductor. You
Bro, turn
almost
to ground
never
beef.
know what
Yo,
to
stop.
expect during your shift.
Yo, stop,
It could be
dude.
nothing, or it could be a nearly
deer? Sounds like a
unsolvable
setup to me.
mystery of why would somebody do that? But train conductor Zhao knows that this is not one of those instances. I mean, the only
that's one
mystery
creepy-ass
is how
smile.
not very intelligent this passenger is. What
She
do
a
you mean your
skinwalker?
wife
Can
is missing?
skinwalkers transform?
She's
Is that
missing,
why you
sir.
said that?
She was with you on the
I don't
train,
know much
and now
about
she's not?
skinwalkers.
That's what missing means. She's missing. You have to help me find her. Train conductor Zhang pauses and lets out a smile because this is probably going to be the least exhausting task of the day. The first logical place to search is the dining cart. It's right at the center of the train, and when
Creepy
you
ass
step
stock
in,
footage.
the first thing you
Yo,
notice
Audacious, you
is
gonna
the
take
smell.
that? I
And
mean,
then the
shoot,
sound.
he not
All
here
of
to
the
defend
rattling
himself,
sounds of the
so
silverware and cups as
I
the train
mean,
moves
you know.
along. It's just what you imagine the
Damn.
place to be. There's rows of tables and chairs along each side of the carriage. It's like a breakfast restaurant that sells pancakes, the ones that have those sticky syrup
Man, I haven't
dispensers.
had some
They're
good
maybe a
ass
little bit
like
nicer. The
pancakes
tables are
or
covered with
waffles
white linens, glass windows on
in
both
a long
sides, and
ass
you can
time.
just see everything
Chat, pancakes or waffles right now? This is where I judge you guys. Pancakes or waffles?
blurring past you. It's about 2 a.m. but
Waffles?
there's
Okay,
somebody
you
leaned up
pass.
against the window, reading a newspaper, drinking a cup of hot
Waffles?
coffee.
Okay, y'all pass.
He
y'all
looks
pass.
over his newspaper
Y'all
at Lee and the
pass.
conductor and goes straight back to reading. This carriage is a relatively quick search. They check under each table, each deep red colored booth, under them, under the ground, and as the conductor expected, no signs of Gia anywhere in the dining cart. She's probably in a restroom somewhere. Lee and the
Is
conductor.
it just
they
me
start-
or it looked like something like on her face or something? I don't know what's up with
in the
that,
dining
but
cart? She's probably
I
in
don't
a
know.
restroom somewhere. Lee and the conductor.
I mean,
they
yeah,
start making
trick
their
question,
way
honestly, trick question. I like both, so I was just with y'all.
carriages. This train in particular has 18 carriages, 18 different compartments, if you will. 8 are for sitting and 8 are for sleeping. Those are excluding the dining carriage.
That's a lot of
storage
carriages.
The train conductor carriage. These are just the passenger areas. It's a big train. In total, the train can carry up to 1,500 people.
That's a lot of
They have
bodies.
a lot of square footage to cover during this search. They start with the hard seat carriages. Chinese seating carriages are typically split up into 3 different levels. The first is not even a seating carriage. You get to stand. For less than $1 for an 11-hour train ride, you have the joy of standing the entire trip. You
Oh,
can maybe
nah,
sit on your
gang.
luggage. You can maybe sit on the floor. Or if you're lucky, you can maybe sit on somebody's seat when they go use the restroom for about 2 seconds. But otherwise,
I
you're
mean,
on your 2 feet the
Business
entire
wise,
way.
that's kind of, you know,
The carriage with people
like
standing
smart.
are going
Like
to be a
that's
hard
profitable
search
because
because they're
who
packed
can't
with
really
people.
like afford.
It's not
you
much
know,
different from trying to swim
like
through a
beds and
sardine
things like
can.
that, like they
You
get the
can't
standing
see anything
carriage.
but the person in front of
It's-
you.
it's kinda
Excuse us.
smart.
Excuse me.
But
Gia,
damn, could you
Gia, are you in
imagine,
here?
like,
Say something, Gia. She's not.
standing the
They
entire
get to the
ride.
hard seat carriages. You might as well be sitting on an uncomfortable park bench or a plank of wood at 90 degrees. Sometimes
Oh,
the people with the
man.
hard seat tickets will get up to use the restroom, and when they get back, they see a stander sitting in their spot. Oh, sorry, I have a standing ticket, but I did. Here, let me get up. It's okay. You can sit. You can sit.
Damn, it hurt that much
so
to sit on the.
They start thinking,
to sit on
maybe
the
I
hard
should have gotten a
benches.
standing ticket. How is standing more comfortable than sitting? They go row by row of the hard seat carriages. Most people are knocked out, dead asleep, head leaning up against the stranger next to them. I mean, they don't care. It's 2 a.m. They don't care about social etiquette. They just need to find a nice surface to lay their head down. The conductor is shining his bright flashlight at each of the faces. They're all squinting, using their arm to block the light. Hey, what are you... Sorry, my wife is missing. I'm looking for my wife. Gia? Then the two head over to the soft seat carriages. There are a bit less people in there. The seats are the ones that you would expect, cushiony, almost like an airplane seat. And as they're going through the aisles of the soft seating carriages,
the homegirl
and
Gia,
the longer
bro.
they
I know
can't
where
find
you at, Gia.
the more the
Where
train
you at?
conductor and husband Lee feel confused. I mean, Gia's disappearance just doesn't even make sense.
It don't.
It's like a weird magic trick. You know how those magicians will make someone disappear on stage? There's no way it makes sense. People don't just disappear, but they're doing it on stage, so it really feels that way, doesn't it? If you just sit in the crowd, you turn your brain off, you have a really good time. The magician can do something that nobody else in the crowd can do. They can do magic. Poof,
He can
person
touch
here,
your butt.
person gone. But if you start thinking, if you really start thinking, where did they disappear to? You start getting some real answers, and it's never magic. Where the magician will put someone in a box, you can see that they barely fit in there. Box closes up.
I gotta fix
Magician
that,
starts
Kate,
stabbing swords into the box, and it makes you nervous that the person
Because
inside
some
is
people
getting
are having
stabbed.
trouble with that as well.
But then they take out the knives one by one, open the box back up, and the person is fine, unharmed. Usually, it's a false bottom. There's a hidden trapdoor, a compartment underneath them.
I'm not gonna lie,
or maybe a trap.
this looked kind of crazy. Dang it, her face like right above. Let me stop.
Door behind them.
Let me stop.
Because even now, the conductor knows nobody just disappears
I'm just
on a
saying,
moving
you can
train.
get a sniff,
There
but-
is no such thing as magic.
I'll stop.
People don't just vanish without a trace. And as they're going carriage by carriage, the conductor is flashing the light into each row, each face to verify that none of them are the missing wife.
They can
Gia.
match my freak.
Lee, the husband, is glued to his phone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? The whole thing is a little suspicious. Why didn't Lee go to the restroom with his wife? It's 1 a.m. on a train. Wouldn't you want to make sure that your wife gets to the restroom safely? And even if he didn't escort his wife to the restroom, how could he just fall back asleep? He couldn't wait 5
It
minutes
was
for his wife to get
late.
back before going back to snoring? He fell asleep and only woke up a full 30 minutes later when the train jerked to the side. Interesting. Because the train conductor knows people do not go missing from moving
could have
trains,
been
it means that
tired,
it's more
like-
likely a situation
You
where
know?
somebody harmed the wife. And statistically speaking, it's always the husband. is it
Reaching?
not?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, to be fair, it's not always
Like,
the husband.
it's 1
but there's a
a.m.
good tip.
You fell asleep. Where were you? Why weren't you with your wife? Like, well, how is that? How is that suspicious? You know what I mean?
And would
How
this
is
not
that
be the
suspicious?
perfect place to commit the perfect crime? Wait till the train is
I
passing
think he was tired of his wife, bro. Now
a
that's
very difficult
that's
to search
crazy.
area. Perhaps
Me
on the edge of a
personally-
mountainside cliff. When the perfect opportunity
the
comes.
wife just wakes up like, oh, like husband, I need to go to the bath. Yeah, go, bro. Go, bro. Go, bro. Just go.
You kill your wife, throw her
Go
out the door,
manage.
say she's missing. You've already gotten rid of her body, and any one of the 1,000 people on the train
Homie
could
was
be a suspect
tired.
by the time that anyone realizes that
guilty?
your wife is truly missing, and this is an emergency situation. By that point, the train would be very far from her body. It would be such a puzzling mystery, and you would be the sad, confused husband who never gets closure. It's almost
Imagine the husband actually ends up
perfect.
being like the killer at the end of this.
Or if
I'd
that's
be
too risky, maybe
baffled.
he hid his wife's body. Perhaps the hiding locations on the train that come to mind first are the most dangerous
Because in my
ones.
head, I'm like, there's no
Underneath
way.
the
Like,
train,
that's too
or on
obvious.
top of the
Like,
train. Or maybe the storage
would it be
carriage
him?
hiding amongst the cargo.
I think it was the grimace
But it would
shake.
be nearly physically
Bro, what?
impossible for Lee to hide his wife's body in one of those areas.
Mm.
And now that the train conductor is looking at it, husband Lee does seem genuinely frantic to find his wife. He's been on his phone nonstop, calling her nonstop, trying to see if her phone would ring in any of the carriages. Gia, the wife, can hear her husband calling her phone nonstop. It's ringing again and again. And there's probably not even 2 seconds it hadn't been ringing in the past God knows how long. She knows it's her husband because she had set his ringtone to a custom one. And now it's
that's
just
kinda cute.
painful to listen to. Gia's laying there, not moving towards her phone. She knows it would mean a lot to her husband if she could just pick up the phone and tell
Bro,
him
I just
where she
realized this is like a
what
little bit like
happened,
stretched.
or maybe even why.
That's a little
Maybe he could get some
embarrassing.
semblance of closure in that way.
You move this a
But
little
she's not
bit.
gonna pick up the phone. Not yet, anyway.
Why didn't y'all tell
So
me,
he's
though?
just gonna have to wait, doesn't he? She can't come to the phone right now. The train conductor is looking at Lee, making
Let me pause it. I mean, you're looking like an unprofessional YouTuber
nonstop
streamer.
phone calls
All right.
to his wife.
Now it don't look so
Which
crazy.
Maybe she can't come to the
It
phone
looks
right
fine,
now,
gangy. I
and
don't
maybe
know.
she can't be
I
found
mean, as long
on
as
this
it looked
train
fine, but now y'all can
because
see
she
the
was
full
never on the
video.
train to begin with. Are we even sure that husband Lee got on the train with his wife? Her purse is conveniently missing because she took it with her.
I
but
mean,
maybe she never got on the
If you're a girl, you take your to the bathroom. If you leave your when you go to the bathroom, I don't know, man. I don't know.
That
But
seems like a logical explanation to all of this than vanishing on a moving train.
Every woman that women's takes their to the bathroom. We don't leave it. We do not leave it.
I mean, think about it. There's over
Even if
1,000
there's
people on this
nowhere
train
for
right
us to
now.
put it.
What are the odds that at least one of them has lost their minds? Maybe husband Lee just genuinely believes that she was on this train with him, that she boarded with him, but he's traveling alone. There was a movie called Flight Plan that came out a few years before this incident. Have you
That's
heard
an
of the
interesting
movie?
theory. Like he's just
It
like
goes like this.
crazy.
A woman named
He thinks he has a
Kyle,
wife.
who happens to be an airline engineer. She
That went
boards
on
a
the train
flight
with
from
him?
Berlin to the U.S. with her little daughter, Julia. It is a very rough trip for the both of them. They flew to Berlin to claim Kyle's dead husband's body. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
what she's
husband
talking about,
died. He's
Audacious? I don't know what
mysteriously
you- I
dead.
don't know
And
what
now
she's
they're
talking about,
bringing his
gang.
body in the plane cargo all the way back home to the United States.
How old is the baby?
The girl in the movie is maybe 7 years old. Now, Kyle obviously is not in her right state of mind. She just lost her husband, the father of her child, Julia. So when the plane takes off, she decides to take some anti-anxiety medication. She ends up knocking out. When she wakes up, her daughter, Julia, is gone. Kyle starts
my
freaking
goodness.
out. She alerts the flight crew, very much like how Lee alerts the train conductor. And they drop
my sister, y'all.
everything. Well, everything but flying the plane, of course. They
Jumping
drop
to conclusions
everything to
at
help
its
her find
finest.
her missing daughter. But slowly, Kyle can feel the flight crew. They're getting distracted. They're not trying to help her. They're not making eye contact with her. What the hell is wrong with you people? My child is missing. We have to find her. Ma'am, you boarded alone. Julia, your daughter, is not on the plane's manifest. She is not a passenger on the plane. No, that can't be true because your records are incorrect.
How badly I be forgetting
Ma'am,
stuff.
I'm so
Nick
sorry.
can confirm.
They aren't. We spoke with the authorities in Berlin. Your child, Julia.
This is how delusional and horrible my memory be. Like that's
died in
how
Berlin with
delusional
your
I be.
husband. You must be in a state of shock and grief that your brain is not processing the information.
Oh man.
You might be hallucinating.
Oh my gosh,
Kyle
bro.
almost believes them until she sees a tiny heart that her daughter drew on the plane's window when it got fogged up. And now she's on a mission on this
Wow.
plane in the air to prove that her daughter has been kidnapped on a plane, on a moving plane.
Wow.
In the end, at the end of the movie, Kyle is able to
What's
prove
good,
that her
Jay?
daughter was very much real and did board the plane.
What? Then why did they lie to her? Why did
That's what
everyone
I'm
lie to her?
saying.
It was a ransom. Shady people doing shady things, trying to frame her for ransom.
That's
But her daughter is very
crazy.
much real and very much on the plane. So the theory that husband Lee had just lost his mind and
Oh,
believed he
damn,
boarded the
bro,
train
like,
with his wife
that's
but
crazy.
didn't, it's quite easy to prove because he is able to show the train conductor his wife had a ticket
Fight me
and was
through the
seen
screen.
boarding the train by the neighboring bunkmates.
Yeah, funny.
They all saw her before she went to the restroom, before they all fell asleep. So yes, she was on this train. And right before she went missing, they had been on the bunk asleep, and nobody has seen her since then. The train conductor and Lee start combing through the sleeping carriages once more. This is technically where Gia, the wife, was last seen, so they want to be extra thorough. This is her bunk, right? Yes.
Do it
I
you
see.
won't. Yeah, do
On
it
this
you
very
won't.
specific train, the K2011 Express, the bunk bed carriages, the sleeper carriages, if you will, have 6 beds per section. In each section, there are 3 rows of 2 small, tiny beds facing each other. The top, the highest 2 beds, they have the least amount of space. If you try to sit up, you're not going to be able to without crouching your neck or slamming your head on the top of the
Yeah,
train.
you'll bash your
It is
head
the brightest,
against the ceiling.
which is one of the biggest setbacks. Even when the train turns down the lights at night, you're going to get the most light pollution since you're at the top. However,
Me personally, I was a top bunker, you feel me? So I can't relate.
it's great because it's passengers
Okay.
say if you bring a book or you bring your phone with full
Forgot
battery
about
because there's
this.
not a lot of
Okay, we're
outlets out
back.
there, that's the best bunk. Nobody's going to bother you and you're out of the line of sight by people who walk down the aisle. Nobody's that tall. Then you
L
have
ads
the
for
middle
real.
bunk. It probably comes shoulder height to people who are walking past in the open aisles. So if you're wearing a dress, you'd do best to cover it with a blanket. It's great if you're a scenery person. It's the only bunk with good views out the window.
I feel like my childhood is complete because I like grew up
stare out the window if that's what you're into.
Like
It's
having
a
bunk
little less
beds.
private than the very top bunk, since everybody walking past
Like
is,
when I was really
again,
young.
eye level with your body, just about. But it's easier to get in
So-
and out of than the top bunk. Then you have the very bottom bunk. It's actually the most spacious of the 3 levels, and it even has like a small, nice table on the side that you can use. You can also fully sit up straight. So the choice
Sephora was
to
a
sit or
stuck
lay
in the
down
middle
is
child?
fully
What you
yours.
mean? I was
It's also
the-
relatively dark since it's
I
covered
was
by
at the time I was the youngest, so I wasn't the stuck in the middle child. I was well, let me not say I get everything I want, because I had
top 2
foreign
bunks,
parents and things
which,
like that.
Why
But
wouldn't everybody choose the bottom bunk then? More space, the choice to sit or lay down. It's dimly lit. You
I
have
got top
table
bunk.
space.
Loud
The
house,
main
yeah.
drawback is a lot of strangers.
For those of you that don't know, I have 3 older brothers and one younger sister now, but like at the time, you know,
on
it was
these
just me and my
trains
brothers.
will just sit on random people's bottom bunks
And
to sit
me and
and chat with each other.
my
They could
youngest
even,
brother
if they wanted
had
to,
like bunk
snatch your
beds as
belongings.
kids when we used
Or
to share a
perhaps
room.
Even you.
And I got the top bunk.
Husband Lee and Gia are not at the bottom bunk. They're in the middle.
I remember
but maybe,
loving that
maybe
top
somebody
bunk,
saw
bro.
Gia
Like, it's
laying in the
low-key
bunk
fun
and started having very bad thoughts.
to
Maybe
have
they
a-
thought that they
a
could do
top
something
bunk.
to her. Maybe she was kidnapped by a stranger on the train for very sinister reasons. But if that's the case, where are they hiding her? Gia is laying there. The floor is cold, but she knows she can't move. She's tried. Even if she wants to, it's not working. It feels like she's tied down to a bed of steel nails. If she had known this was gonna happen, would she have still taken the same route back to her bunk bed from the restroom? Would she have even gone to the next carriage's restroom? Or would she have just waited in line to use the one closest to her? The one closest to her husband? I mean, if she did, would things be different? Probably. She'd probably be in the
Jinx.
situation right now. Everything would probably be different. And right now, nothing is going according to plan. But there's no time to think about that. She feels the blood dripping
She's
down
auntie?
the
I am
lower
not
part of her
auntie.
body.
Don't do
And
that.
she starts screaming.
If I start seeing aunties in my goddamn chat, I swear to God, I am not auntie. Not yet. I will claim auntie at 30. Or maybe even like 27, maybe. But auntie, no. Like, y'all about to make me crash out, seriously. Y'all about to make me crash out. Deadass. Bro, I am only 20. I'm not even 21 yet. I'm far from auntie status. Auntie is equivalent to unk, and I am not unk nor my auntie, okay? W crash out? Nah, don't do that.
As
Don't
loud
do
as
that
you
in my
can.
chat.
Please, somebody help me. Someone
No.
help me, please. Honey. Husband
is crazy.
Lee
How is that
slamming his fist on the
crazy?
bathroom door. He never had a chance
I
to
feel
check
like I
this restroom
am
for his
still
wife.
very
And
much young.
now that he thinks about it, was this restroom locked since Gia first went missing?
Oh, brother. My bad, auntie. 20 is old for real? Y'all about to start hurting my feelings. Like, if I'm old, let me not even like
Everyone
get on
in
no
Carriage
like that.
11 is knocked out.
Cool auntie vibes. Hey, I mean, not that I'm claiming auntie or anything like that, but at least I'm cool. At least I'm the cool auntie, because I would want to be that cool auntie.
Asleep, but Lee could not care less. He's banging
The
on the
senior
door,
command?
screaming,
No,
Gia, are you in
I
there?
don't.
Gia, open up, please. It's me, Gia. Open the door. Are you in there? Lee has all sorts of probabilities running through his mind. Gia's not great with motion. Maybe she got motion sick and fainted in the restroom, and now nobody can help her unless they get this damn door open. He starts jiggling the handle of the door, trying to use brute force to get it to open, and it's not opening, and the train attendant walks over and starts
Jiggling.
unlocking the door for Lee. Maybe he could see the desperation in Lee's face. Is anybody in there? Please speak now. We're going to unlock the door. We will be opening the door now. Please knock if you're not ready. Before the attendant can unlock the door from the outside with a key, they hear
Imagine they're knocking on the door and you're just like taking a shit.
someone is inside the restroom.
That's
unlocking
some
the door.
stuff one of y'all would
The
would
door
be,
creaks open just a crack.
one of
and
y'all
a
would
man,
like happen.
a middle-aged
Y'all ever had somebody like walk in on you before? I feel like y'all haven't had like a true canon event if something like that hasn't like happened to you, if you haven't had somebody like walking on you before.
Man squeezes past the door and closes it behind him.
My
As he
chest
walks
be like
away, he does not break
sink
eye
into my
contact with
cheeks.
Lee. He just smirks as he zips up his pants.
Ew.
What the hell did this? Did he do something to his wife? Lee, his heart is beating out of his chest. He turns back to the bathroom door, slams it all the way open, and inside, on carriage 11, is a very normal bathroom. Gia is not there.
Nah, something happened in that
1,000 random
bathroom,
strangers
bro.
on the train. It's a numbers game. How many of them have bad intentions? Once the train is in motion, the passengers are isolated from the outside world. If there is a killer, if there is someone trying to do something nasty on board the train, you're stuck. You're trapped with
Ew.
them. And the scariest part is you don't even know who that would be.
Stop lying, Troy.
Adding to the confusing mystery
Stop lying.
is to harm Gia, to get rid of her body from the moving train, or to hide her body so thoroughly that the train conductor cannot find her. It would require some preparations, some planning. This does not seem like it would be a very easy random crime to commit. She's not exactly a prime target either. She's a 44-year-old mother who is traveling with her husband, works as a manager for a toothpaste company. It's not like they're very wealthy and have a lot of money for ransom or a lot of things to be stolen from. She's beautiful, don't get me wrong. She
I'm
does
gonna grab
very
some
well in
cereal.
her
Yeah,
field,
definitely.
but she's not in a
Get a
position where
snack.
she's creating enemies. They live very normal, average lives. So if Gia is nowhere on the train, her husband didn't do this to her.
Let me know what
likely
cereal
a
you
stranger
get.
didn't do this to her. Maybe Gia did this to herself. Hypothetically speaking, if one wants to disappear and vanish without a trace so that nobody comes looking for them, a moving train would be a really good choice.
She turned invisible. Be for real.
If Gia were to vanish at work one day, everybody would be out in her hometown in the city searching for her. Neighboring cities would be on the lookout. Her case might even go viral on social media. But if she vanishes on a train, it would be such an unsolvable case that people would not be actively searching for her face in a sea of people out and about in everyday city life. They might look for her in the mountainside
Yeah,
where
sure.
she was last seen. And the steps to faking one's disappearance are very straightforward. They're pretty easy. It's uncomplicated. First step,
I don't know about
Don't get caught.
easy. Like,
second step, don't forget the first step. It's not like it hasn't been done before. One of the most famous disappearances takes place on a train, and that is of Louis Le Prince, a French inventor. He actually created the very first motion picture photography, aka this man invented movies. He boarded a train from Dijon, France to Paris, France. And
That's
while on
crazy.
that train, he disappears without a trace. His vanishing, it feels very similar to Gia's. It feels like a magic trick. Even all of his luggage is gone, but there is proof that he did indeed board the train. So where the hell did he go? When the train gets to Paris, there are extensive searches to locate Louis Le Prince, and they come up with nothing. They never found him, nor his belongings. It's like a magic trick. He vanished off the face of the earth on a moving train. So people start theorizing what they believe happened to Louis Le Prince. One of the theories being,
Louis Le
if this man is so
Prince.
smart,
Louis
he
Le
can create the
Prince.
first motion picture. Would he not be smart enough to fake his own disappearance? Maybe he waited for the train to slow down or took advantage of an unscheduled stop and slid away to start a new life. Maybe the pressure of constantly creating
Imagine,
new inventions
like-
and living up to his previous accomplishments was
I
getting
don't
to
know.
him.
Like, why would
Perhaps
you
he
ever want
realized
to like disappear? I don't know. Maybe people want that for themselves, or they don't got like anything going on, so they would just like fake their own death or like fake their own disappearance. But like, why would you ever
I said, this
do
is
that?
not the life that he wanted for himself, and he can't face his family to tell them all of that. So he faked his
That's
own
crazy to
disappearance.
me.
That is one of the theories. However, the most popular theory is that Louis Le Prince did not fake his own death. The most popular theory was that someone wanted Louis Le Prince's inventions and wanted to claim his patents as their own, so they killed him. They murdered him on the train and got rid of his body. Lee, the husband, starts losing his mind on the train. He's been running through the aisles of the carriages, screaming his wife's name. No care in the world if he's disturbing everybody. He just needs to find his wife. He feels like this is some sort of
Is anybody
sick
doing
joke.
anything?
How can she just vanish? He's analyzing
people
every
running
single
the train?
person's face.
Like, are
Does that
they,
person
like,
look guilty?
helping?
Is that my wife? Does that person look like they've just stuffed someone into their luggage? His brain is so busy hunting down his wife, it feels like the rest of his body is going into autopilot mode. He's running down the aisles. Left hand, press call. Phone up to ear. Ring, ring, ring. You have reached the voicemail. Left hand, press call. Phone up to ear. Ring, ring, ring. You have reached the voicemail of Left hand, press call, phone up to ear, ring, ring, ring. Hello? Lee freezes. He looks down at his phone. It's the correct number. It's his wife's number. And a man has just picked up the phone. Hello? Where? Sir, your wife is at the hospital. Please come meet her. How the hell did his wife get off this train?
It's a setup. It's a setup.
And to
You're
a
gonna
hospital.
Die. You're gonna die.
Husband Lee is sitting on the floor, crouched down with his back leaned up against
It's
the hospital
100%
door.
a setup.
He's squatting. He's clenching his teeth, trying to hold in his own sobs. The types of screams he can hear from inside the hospital room are not normal. They're primal. Like someone is being attacked and shredded by a cheese grater. He had never heard someone scream like that ever in his life.
Stupid
And they were
ass.
all coming from his wife Gia. He can hear her through the door. Ow, please, my left leg. It
Imagine
hurts
having
so much.
ads.
I need
Stop,
more
I don't
painkillers.
have
I'm in
an ad
agony.
blocker,
Please just
okay?
make them go away.
Drop it in the Discord.
Somebody needs to help me, please. The pain Gia has been going through has been so overwhelming, all-consuming, that Gia has not been able to sleep, eat. She can't even distract herself. All day,
Opera?
all night, all she does is scream
no.
until she exhausts herself and her throat...
I heard it
The
doesn't work
screams
anymore.
from inside the room keep getting louder.
I don't know.
Husband Lee knows he needs to go in there. So he quickly takes a deep breath, wipes his tears on the back of his hand, clears his nose, straightens out his back, puts on a smile, opens the door, and walks in. Every day, multiple times a day, this is what he does. He walks in there, sits on the edge of the hospital bed, and he puts his hand near his wife. He doesn't touch her, but he gets close. Shh, honey, it's
Ew.
okay. It's okay.
The music, I don't
know you
like
feel
what
a
I'm
lot
hearing
of
in my
pain your
ears.
left leg, but you have to remember what the doctor said. It's in your head, honey. Tell yourself the pain is not real. Because
Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't have a
you
specs
don't have a left leg
command.
anymore. She looks down, and her left leg, her left arm.
Goodness, stop it! They took her leg. What? What? Yo, we just skipped like 20 chapters, gang. What? Oh my.
The pain is not real. Because you don't
Wait,
tell
what's
yourself.
that thing? What's that thing where like you lose a body part, and even though you lose the body part, you can still feel like the arm or like the pain in that body part or whatever. They taught us that in school, but I don't remember the name. What's that called again?
The pain is not
Somebody
real.
tell me what that's called.
Because
Like
You
I
don't
don't
have
know.
a left
Phantom pain, is that what it's called? Yeah, that's
leg anymore. She looks down, and her left leg,
Oh my
her
god.
left arm, and her right foot
Oh my
are
and
all
her
gone.
and her arm and her foot. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's not. Wait. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's not funny. Wait. Yo. Hold on, give me a second. Do I got a napkin? I don't know, bro. I'll laughing at it serious about it. Bro, I don't know, bro. Let me tell you like what was going through my head. So she was like, okay, like her leg gone. I was like, okay, her leg gone. And then I played it back and it was like, oh shit, like her arm too, like damn. And then she said her foot too. And I looked at the foot. Shit, there's no I can't give like a proper excuse. Just I was just looking at her foot here. I mean her nub. Yo. Oh my god, I laughed too, not gonna lie. See, it's not just me. Like I'm not a bad like human being. Trust me, please. It's just like I don't know what possessed me to like just I don't know, like I looked down at her foot and it just wasn't there. So she can't wash her feet no more. Yo, monster, stop making me laugh, gang. Stop making me laugh, bro.
Gia has lost 3 limbs, but she can
Oh
still
my
feel all
God,
of them.
bro.
It's called
That's
phantom limb
horrible.
pain. It's when an individual perceives feeling,
That's
and a lot of the
horrible,
times
bro.
painful feelings in a limb that are no longer there. The limb doesn't exist
That's
anymore,
horrible.
but the brain thinks it's still there. The nervous system
really
sends
woke up
out
like my
receptors
guy
and gets confused
Obito.
because they're not being
Oh
relayed
my.
properly, which eventually translates into the sufferer
Bro.
feeling pain. In essence, the nerves in your spinal cord that lead to the brain still exist
That's
from that limb that's been
crazy.
severed. Your brain senses something is wrong because those nerves stop sending signals, and that
Whoever did that might as well took the rest of the body parts. Cause what you gonna use a leg and an arm and a foot for? I don't
triggers
know.
a
Like
pain
that's
response,
just you might as
which
well
is
have
usually
like
the body's
took all
default
the
response
limbs.
when they
Like
feel
what
like
you gonna-
something is wrong. They force you to feel pain to alert you, hey, something's not right here. The brain
Oh
is
my
a very
gosh.
powerful organ. Think of it like this. You have a best friend that you have spoken to every single day of
Exactly
your
what
entire
happened. I
life,
don't
every
know,
second of every
bro.
day. You've spent every single waking moment with them, and then one day they suddenly ghost you. But your brain cannot comprehend or remember a time
Yo,
where
she-
you've been without them and you're confused.
She got ghosted by her own limbs, bro. That's up. That's up, man.
How can they just be
This-
gone? Nothing makes sense. You have no
That's
closure.
fucked up.
You're bound to feel some sort of pain and confusion for a very long time. This is so much worse. One netizen said, I had an amputation right below the knee. I experienced phantom pain. It
Can
starts
she
like
close her
someone has
eyes
a
a little?
lighter
Damn.
under the
What
sole
you
of
mean?
my
With her
foot
eyes open?
that is no longer
in the
there.
photo?
It heats up. I can feel my foot on fire, but the foot is no
Oh,
longer there.
God.
And then bam,
That's
like someone
crazy.
slams a giant spike through my non-existent foot, just stabbing it, piercing it all the way through, and that pain slowly shoots up my leg all the way up to the rest of my body. Another netizen said, early on, my phantom pain felt like my foot was being crushed by a metal bar across the top of my foot and being electrocuted all at the
bro.
same time.
That's
But the foot
oh my
didn't
God.
exist anymore. Another netizen writes, I feel like my foot is being crushed, constantly electrocuted, stabbed with a dull
Yeah.
knife, and any other pain that you
I
can
learned that in
imagine.
school.
There's also the weird
Did y'all learn
sensations that?
that?
Aren't necessarily painful, but it
Like
drives you
I
crazy.
remember learning about all of
Itching.
this.
You want to itch your foot so bad, but when you go down to
Like
itch
all of the
and
like
relieve some of
symptoms
that,
and shit like that.
it's
Like
not
it's crazy.
there, but it keeps itching.
Damn.
Another one that drives you crazy is I feel like I'm dipping my foot into
The
a
lady
cold
talking?
lake.
Oh, I
It's so
see.
cold. I'm getting frostbite on my
I mean,
toes.
she immersed.
but
She
my
immersed
foot
in
is
the
not
story.
there.
Immersed.
As for Gia, she
know?
said, the first attack of phantom limb pain
Oh man, bro.
made me
That's
scream
crazy.
so loud until I couldn't scream
Oh.
anymore.
Oh.
Lee did not
oh,
want to ask his
oh.
wife too much about what happened. So he tried to
Oh.
get bits and pieces from the investigators, the ones that first found Gia and came to the
Oh
scene.
man.
When they got out there, they didn't
Yeah, through
didn't
TikTok
honestly know
school.
what they were looking at.
Damn,
They
your school
told
ain't teach you
Lee,
nothing.
We thought, is this a woman?
They
A
taught
man?
us that.
It has to be
It was
a
like
person,
a whole.
though, right?
I forget what class, but
We had no
it was
clue.
like a whole segment.
The investigator said it was difficult to even tell if it was a person, actually. It was just a pile of blood and limbs, like a bloody blob. But it had to be. Logically, it made sense, but their brains would not let them comprehend it, or rather comprehend who they're looking at. They look down at the ground. There's blood and body parts scattered like a human puzzle. The person they're staring at basically only has half their body left.
Oh my
And they're
gosh,
thinking, what
bro.
the hell happened to this poor woman? Who did this to her? There's something called melanoheliophobia. I don't know if I'm saying
I'm
that
not
correctly, but it
repeating
is
that.
the fear of black holes, like the ones in space. The fear of objects with such extreme mass and gravity that it consumes even light itself. Just visually speaking,
10
people say that
ads?
looking into a
Oh
black
my
hole,
God, bro,
even
I'm
just the
so
photos,
sorry.
because that's all we have.
Jesus
terrifying.
Christ.
To know that once you get
I'll
sucked
pause
into
it. Back to the
the
video
black hole,
because there's a lot.
you become spaghetti. Spaghettification. That's what they say. You fall into a black hole. It compresses your body down from the top to the toe and then stretches you at the same time, and it turns you into
absolutely
literal human
massive.
spaghetti.
Yo,
That's
that's
probably why a lot of
wild. You
people
gonna take
have
that?
a intense fear, intense emotions when they stare into a black hole. And the investigators for the train company are huddled together in a circle, bent over, staring straight into the black hole. Impossible. I mean, how can such a... I can't even believe it. In the middle of carriage 14, there is a black hole. Well, okay, not
Like,
really.
what do you mean?
You know those
Okay, I
trash
was about to
cans
say,
where
like,
you
what do you
press
mean a-
down and the sides will push down, letting you throw the garbage in with your hand? Unless someone steps on this particular spot of the carriage, the floor, the hole does not open up. It's almost like a false bottom, a magic trick. and they've taken off the compartment doors, and there is a hole, a gaping hole on the floor of carriage 14. On Gia's way back from the restroom that night, she made sure to keep both feet planted on the ground. Just normal train etiquette, common sense. Just in case the train makes a sharp turn that she's
not them, you know, New Yorkers that be, you know, doing flips and tricks and shit on the plane.
not going to end up in somebody else's bunk. But as she's walking back through carriage 14, ready to walk back into carriage 13 where her husband is, the floor underneath her just disappears. A tile of the floor swings open briefly, opening up, and in the blink of an eye, sucks her down into a black hole.
Yo.
She drops down onto the railroad tracks, and she is swallowed by the bottom of the train. Instantly for Gia,
Fix your ads. I just
everything
came
goes
up
black.
for ads and more ads. What?
She can almost
I'm
feel
also play
each
the video
wheel going
as well.
through her body. These are pulled from her court statements. They're just running over her. She said the pain is so intense that she cannot stop screaming, but nobody can hear a thing. She can't even hear her own screams. The train's roaring and the friction sound of the wheels in the railroad track are so loud, it's deafening.
I wrote it down on my to-do
Then
list.
she loses consciousness. Gia would be run over by 20 train carriages going at 40 miles per hour.
Dude.
By the time that the train she was on had sped off, she looked like she had been chewed up and then spit out. When she woke back up, she was somehow somewhat alive. She said that she just laid there, staring up at the night sky. There wasn't a single star up in there. Everything was pitch black, and Gia was left for dead. If someone on the train had seen her walking down the aisle 1 second, gone the next, they might have thought it's like one of those magic tricks with a trap door, a false bottom.
Wow.
And people say when things are in motion, they stay in motion. To give you some context, when things in motion are
Gia
moving,
took it like
they
a
have
champ
more
for real.
force
Not
than
even
things
gonna
that
lie,
are
she
still.
did.
If you calmly walk up to
Like,
a ball,
and she's still
a
alive?
basketball, and it's stationary, sitting
After
on a
all of
table,
that?
and you bump your head against it, it's likely going to be unpleasant. It's not going to kill you. You probably won't even have a bump on your head. Now, if that same ball is thrown off the penthouse unit,
if I was just, you know, like, God forbid, if that happened to me and God was just like, so you trying to, you know, go back or, you know, come with me or whatever, I feel like my body would just instantly give out. Like, oh no, after that, no leg, no arm, no foot, no hand. Like, there's half of us. Like, what percentage, how much of your body is basically gone at that point? Like, it's over
of a 98th floor apartment, and it hits you on the head, you might be hospitalized. Things in motion have a lot of force. The train that Lee and Gia were on
51%,
was 2,000
like,
tons, about the weight of 200 giant elephants.
Like 60?
But now it's going 45 miles per
It's
hour.
like one arm,
and
one
ramming
leg.
straight into
Yeah, it's
Gia.
not, it wouldn't be like exactly, cause it's my body. Like, I lose a leg, I lose an arm, I lose a leg, so I still have my head. That's like about 60%, about like and toes. Anyways, that's like about 60% of your body, like, left. But like, still, like, damn.
The impact of the injury something like that would cause, it's more comparable to 3,100 elephants running over her.
God
I don't even think
damn,
my brain can really
audacious,
comprehend
bro.
what kind of injuries that would cause. Gia is laying there
That's
for a moment.
crazy.
It's almost peaceful. I mean, not painless, but
Running
it's kind
over-
of peaceful. Realization hits her. If she does not move soon, another train is going to come down and completely rip the rest of her body apart, leaving her truly like a puzzle, waiting to be put back together by coroners. And that's if they even find her. Who knows?
How do you
Maybe
even,
the
like,
animals will
I
get to
don't
her
know.
first. She's on the tracks, and the objective, at least in theory, is quite simple. Move her body off the tracks to the side. She's not even thinking about getting to help or getting to the nearest town. Just get
I mean,
off the
yeah,
tracks.
you
That's all
can't
she's thinking
get
about.
help if
She said, if I do not leave the tracks as soon as possible,
if you don't get off the
I will
track.
be shattered. But when she goes to move, there's this really strange sensation. She tries to move her left arm, but it's like her arm does not belong to her. It does not listen. It does not move. It does not budge. It's weird. She's straining so hard to move that arm. She can feel the veins in her head bulging, throbbing, but nothing. Nothing is moving. All she can do is sit on the cold railroad tracks that are digging into her back and smell that awful metallic scent. At first, she thought that metallic scent was likely the rusted railroad tracks, but she realizes soon enough it's the scent of her blood.
I've been depressively eating, put
She
on a
uses
few pounds.
all of
A
her
few?
strength to
I'm kidding.
lift her head up by her neck, and she looks down at the state of her body. Her left arm is almost completely detached. Her left thigh is gone. Her right hand, the only hand she has left, is full of sticky liquid.
Ew,
Blood.
what you mean? Oh,
The thought to just
Shut
Let
up.
it be is the first thing on her mind. What's done is done.
No.
Look at her. She can't even put herself back together. There's no way she's going to survive. That's what she's
Move,
thinking.
get out the way.
But then she
Get
keeps
out the
seeing
way.
images pass by of her husband, of her son.
All right, we'll be here,
And the
Sven.
decision feels very logical. She said, my son cannot live without a mother. My husband cannot live without a wife. My aging mother and my only sister, they'd be so sad. So I cannot die.
I had a band streak
Gia
in
laid
London
there,
last night.
repeating
Really?
in her mind
Or what?
over and over
Happened?
again. Son, mommy's gonna come home to you. Mommy's gonna come home to you. Mommy's gonna get off the railroad tracks. She
Oh.
uses her only good working hand, her right hand, the one that's almost been obliterated.
Oh my gosh.
She uses it to grip on one side of the railroad tracks, and she's trying to use it to
my
pull her
heart,
body
bro.
over to the side. Maybe she can roll her body.
Sticky? That's what I'm saying.
She grabs it, ignoring the excruciating pain going up her hand.
Oh my
And
God.
with every
That's will,
ounce of
bro.
everything
That's
left in her
will.
body, strength,
will.
adrenaline, love for her son, she pulls as hard as she can
Don't make
and
me
moves
cry.
to the side less than an inch. And then she knocks out again.
Oh,
The amount of pain in her
fuck.
body combined with the amount of blood she's losing every second, she has no energy. She's very weak. When she wakes up, she tries to move her body again and falls again. All she can hear is the song playing in her head over and over. Love you 10,000 years.
Love you
That's her
10,000.
song with her husband.
I gotta know what the songs sound like.
吹起细雨沥沥，风雨揭开我的记忆。
All right.
And it's not like she's having her life flash before her eyes. I mean, she is. But the song is actually playing while she's struggling to move.
Really?
It's the custom ringtone that she set for her husband. I love you 10,000
The husband,
years.
the husband
But
calling.
she can't reach her phone. It's too far. So she uses this song to try and motivate her to move upwards. Maybe if she can grab the purse that's just inches away. Maybe if she can just get off this railroad track, she can tell her husband what happened and he can come save her. So that's what she does for the next half hour or so. Or at least that's what she said it felt like. She lays
okay, I was
there
about to
until
say,
she
like, how are
finally
you
has
not
enough
dead yet?
energy to try and move again. This time she musters
So
up
many tabs,
truly
yeah.
everything in her system, and she
'Cause I
knows
had, like,
either one more
stuff to
try
react
or
to.
she dies. There's no other option. She starts inching closer and closer, 1 centimeter at a time, every few minutes, breathing, exhausted from the pain. And after what feels like an eternity, she manages
you
to make it
remember?
to the other side of the tracks. She hauls her body over, one last push, and she lands right next to the tracks. Her face is resting on the edge. Her whole body feels sticky with oil, like if somebody were to grab her and try to help her up, their hands would just slip off, like somebody oiled down her whole body. But it's a combination of her sweat and blood. She opens her mouth to let out a big breath of air, and she feels the pain deep in her teeth because she realizes that she had essentially burned her lips off from grinding her face against the railroad tracks. She's about to fall asleep again.
What? She what?
Deep in her teeth because she realizes that she had essentially burned her lips off from grinding her face against the railroad tracks. She's about to fall asleep again, but she realizes her face, that feels numb at this point, is resting on the railroad tracks. The thought is very clear in her mind. Her head is going to be cut in half. She will die now,
Oh,
but she
my
feels
God.
no motivation to move it, at least not yet. Her body's starting to give up. She no longer has adrenaline. She knows what's going to happen to her, but she almost feels like, why not just let it because of how tired she is? She's never felt pure exhaustion until now. After laying there, she decides she has to try, and she musters up every last bit of strength and moves her face off the track, just inches
Oh
away.
my
But at
God.
least this time, her face won't be sliced in half. By now, she's in a trance until she feels a vibration. Her whole body starts vibrating, and there's a loud roaring sound. She opens up an eye and sees the train heading straight towards her.
my
She said
God,
in that
bro.
moment, perhaps my determination touched the heavens. I heard the train. I was bursting with joy. This was the only hope for salvation, and I must not give up. I quickly thought how to let the train driver know that I was there, that I was a living, injured person. I knew what I had to do. So I waited nervously, waiting for the light. And the light comes, shines over her whole body, and she said, I put all my strength I had into lifting my head up as high as I could so that the train engineer, the driver of the train, could see me. And I waited until the lights passed all the way through my body, and then I lost consciousness again.
Huh?
She does get the attention of the train crew. They pull the emergency brake, stop a mile away, run They run to her side and call the police to come save her. The police initially did not know how to even help her. They didn't even have a stretcher to bring her to the car. So they did what they could. They ripped a door off from their police station, literally ripped it from the hinges, ran back to Gia and used that as a stretcher. They gently placed her on, placed all of her severed limbs onto the door frame and started running as fast as they could to their cars and eventually drove her to the hospital. They didn't know if she was going to make it. Looking at her on the door frame, barely conscious, the odds
like
are not
lip,
in her favor.
you know, burnt off.
NASA did a study forcing test subjects to lie in a bed for 3 months at a time. Well, not forcing, but have them lay in a bed for 3 months so that they could learn about bone and muscle atrophy in space. And by the end of the 90 days, most...
Imagine your job just like laying on a bench, not having people like, examine your bones. Like you just get to lay there.
healthy participants could not walk. They had to be slowly lifted vertically, and even sitting up, the blood pressure cuffs hanging off their arms, they had to lay back down. Even just sitting at 90 degrees was too much. They started sweating.
Maybe this like should keep away from planes and trains.
They're just sitting. They're not even walking.
Like that's
But that's just after
traumatizing. That's
90
like
days. Gia had to lay in a hospital bed for 190 days, and she was fighting, actively dying. She was not even a healthy participant in a NASA study.
I need to switch careers.
Time, her body is failing.
What's your
Gia said, "My right arm is in a thick cast because it required surgery. I was like a mummy, laying straight on the hospital bed, half of my body gone.
I mean, not surprising though. Like
I slept in one sleeping position all night,
you
all
see
day."
what happened to her?
She
Like,
continued,
jeez.
I think normal people can't do
man.
that even for one night. Laying in the same position nonstop, unable to even move an inch. I was lying in that position, the same position, for more than 2 months. I couldn't move at all. She had a bed sore mattress at the hospital, which is like an air mattress where air pumps into one section of the bed at a time. So it feels like you're constantly in the ocean. Your whole body is slightly going through wave-like stimulations. It helps relieve pressure on just the same part of your body, which prevents bed sores.
Yeah.
But every wave, every air compression made Gia scream in agony. She said it felt like after being run over 20 carriages of an industrial train, it was painful, but it was nothing compared to this, the recovery.
But you're lying in bed all day? Okay, I was about to say, because like, didn't you say, you know,
skinned raw.
and then you
They had
mentioned
major
airplanes and
injuries.
stuff.
She couldn't touch a single thing. Every time the nurses came in to take care of Gia and replace her
get a
bandages,
standing desk.
she said she was in
I
so
mean, if
much
you can,
pain.
you
Even
know,
the
afford it.
breathing on her skin would make her scream.
Man.
This raw, hoarse, guttural scream would escape her body, and the nurses would be terrified of Gia. They didn't even want to make eye contact with her.
God.
Gia said that's how everybody was. Everybody was terrified of her. Nobody wanted to make eye contact with her. And the list of injuries, I mean, I think if we were to go in depth, we would spend 40 minutes here. In summary, her left arm was completely gone. Her left leg by the hip bone had been completely gone. Her right arm, her only remaining arm, almost had to be amputated. They had to save it because her shoulder was shattered in so many places. Her right leg was amputated below the knee. She had injuries to her head. In one part of her head, her scalp was essentially peeled off and her skull was exposed. She lost an alarming amount of
Oh my
blood. She lost almost half of the
Dads
blood
love
in her
you,
body.
right?
Her heart was beating 29 beats per minute, which is nothing. She was barely alive. There were contusions on her left kidney, major head injuries,
my God.
abrasions all over her body.
That is straight hell.
Those are just some of the major injuries. There were thousands
You
of
can
minor
see her-
injuries all
her
listed, making her
skull?
medical chart one of the longer ones that the doctors had ever seen at the local hospital. Every day, the doctors had to go in there and cut dead flesh off of her. Flesh that had turned completely black, and some parts were even starting to have maggots crawling about. Every day, they would cut it off with a pair of scissors. Gia felt like she had already lost so much of herself. And there they are, taking more bits and pieces of her every single day. Which, speaking of, at one point, she needed a skin graft, but the only healthy or somewhat healthy skin she had left on her
God, her hands
entire
are so
body
orange.
was her right
Just
thigh.
saw that.
So they took the skin off of that. Obviously, they did this for Gia. It was what her body
Oh
needed.
my God.
But just the psychological meaning was not lost.
I'm starting to feel bugs
Gia
crawling
was
me.
ripped apart again. Gia said that she would look in the mirror and feel so detached from the person staring back at her. Her whole body
Bro,
was
this is
swollen. There were cuts and
heavy,
bandages
dude.
all over. Only her eyes were peeking out from the blood-stained white bandages wrapped around her face like a mummy. She said that she couldn't bear to even look at herself. She said, and I quote, "When I looked in the mirror, I saw a monster." And even if that's how Gia felt in that moment, she obviously is not a monster. She's a survivor. The real monsters.
She a real survivor.
Are the train company.
Gia
the one
did that,
operated
bro.
the train that she was on when this whole incident took place. I mean, truly, at first, nobody even believed that Gia had fallen through a hole on the train floor. There must be some sort of misunderstanding. Maybe she fell off the train door. In the connecting part of the carriages, maybe the door was open a little bit and she fell through, or maybe she leaned up against the door because she lost her balance. It swung open and she fell out. When the investigators first arrived at the train tracks, the police, Gia had already lost a ton of blood and was on the verge of death. But she told them, I fell through the center aisle of the train carriage, through the floor.
Wow.
What? How is that possible? Look, please look. I had to get off the railroad tracks myself. If you look, my hands and legs, they're in the middle of the railroad tracks. I didn't cut them off myself and throw them there.
That's
Please,
so
you have to pay
I don't
attention
know.
to
That's
the
just
scene.
crazy.
Remember
That's so
everything.
weird.
My body parts that are separated are laying in the middle of the railroad tracks, and I'm laying
I
on
mean,
the
they
side of
gone
the
by
tracks.
now.
Please,
They
you have
gone
to
by
protect the
now.
crime scene so that you can testify for me later. Please. Eventually, Gia would file a lawsuit against the train company, and they tried to brush it off. They stated during the pre-departure inspections, the conductor and the train team did routine checks of the entire train, front to back, back to front, center, everywhere.
Clearly
there was
not
nothing
enough.
amiss, so it must not be their fault. But something's not adding up. Again, the hole technically had a trapdoor
The wolves ate the
mechanism,
legs by now.
where
That's
essentially nobody would know
don't say that. I don't think there would be
unless
there would
they
be wolves
stepped
there
on
anyway.
that very specific spot in the carriage. So when Gia's husband is looking for her, there's no hole. There's no hole until someone steps on it. But what would be the purpose of installing a trap door like that on the middle of a carriage floor? There would be no sense. Why would they do that? Why would the
Maybe
train
in
company
case of
even do something
emergency?
like that? Well, they didn't intentionally do it. The train company basically took an old green train and refurbished it on the inside. They kept most of the original body, just
design
ripped out all
feature?
the
I
insides
mean,
and kept
The only thing I can think of is like, you know how back in the day, like how you'd have like on buses, there would be like different doors for like, you know, like fire drills and things like that. There'd be different exits, windows that even like on like the, not the floor, but like that's what my like mind goes to for in case of emergencies, like if it flips on its side or something, or if it flips completely upside down. Yeah, sure, there's windows, but like say it's blocked or something like that. Maybe on the floor, like the trap door is for escaping fire drill purposes. You know what I mean? Whatever. But
the outside structure.
that's just,
This
you know,
specific train itself was a rainbow
That's what I
train.
think of.
It was green, pink, yellow. All the carriages were different colors because they were pieced together from random old trains that they had picked out and strung them along. And for that reason, the company had to install air conditioning onto the carriages that did not have an AC system. They installed it, and the only problem was they needed to sometimes test a portion underneath the train to troubleshoot the AC. But instead of running wires out from
Yo, the
out
ghost
the
almost
window,
snatched me the
out
fuck
the
up. What
door
are
of
you
the
talking
train,
about,
they
Jay?
thought, let's just create a hole at the bottom of the train that leads directly to the port that we need to access for the AC, and then cover it with a bolted system that nobody can fall through. It just makes the most sense. It was supposed to have a port cover that was foolproof, but clearly it was moved. It was tilted to the side, so anytime you stepped on it, it would just open up. So
Wow.
clearly it was not working. And I don't think that there's any way to look at this and not believe that this is the train company's fault. I don't think anyone would even argue that. Imagine being on a plane and the floor just gives out and you fall from the sky. How
Like,
could
you
someone
just-
argue
like,
that
there's
it's
a
not
hole,
the airline or
like-
the plane manufacturer's fault?
That's
In
crazy.
the lawsuit, Gia filed for compensation, $1.5 million, which is nothing.
Nothing. I was about
I
to
don't
say
think
like
anyone
he
would
should
go through
be
what she went through for
given-
$1.5 million. The mental, emotional,
Homie,
physical
right?
trauma.
That's it. Homie lost a whole like chunk of herself, like chunks of herself, and you're only giving her 1.5 million for her
The loss of future income.
30 mil, 80,
The
80
compensation
mil.
was supposed-
Honestly, money for life. Money enough to stay me for life. Like treatments, ointments, patient stuff, traumatic compensation, mental compensation, you know, everything, bro. Food, all of that.
supposed to
Like,
cover
that's
medical expenses, disability compensation,
That's what
employment
I'm
of caregivers,
saying.
prosthetics costs, nutritional costs, food subsidies, training of
exactly, bro.
disability-friendly housing, rehabilitation care, nursing
Exactly
costs,
what I
transportation costs,
said.
therapy costs, and compensation for moral
therapy,
damages.
like everything.
The railroad company said, Your ask is ridiculous. It is unreasonable. The compensation you're asking for is sky high. It's never been done before. Even when Gia came into the courtroom in a wheelchair, she showed the court the parts of her body where her limbs were severed off. And it's like nobody wanted to look at her. They couldn't even make eye contact with her.
Bro, that's
the air
so
just frozen.
up. Oh my god, listening to this is kind of making me angry.
The court rejected Gia's request for $1.5 million in compensation.
What? They what? Are you serious? Are you serious? They rejected her? Are you serious?
The air just felt frozen. In the end, the court rejected Gia's request for $1.5 million in compensation. At first, they awarded her just $110,000.
That just pissed me off.
Amended that and
just
gave her
pissed me off.
$190,000. And to add insult
they
to
gave
injury,
her how much?
Amended that and gave her $190,000. And to add insult to injury, the train company's motto is, "The greatest enemy of accidents is a sense of responsibility."
Rip that sign off, bro. Rip that goddamn sign off,
Nearly $200,000.
Rip that shit off.
That's all Gia got. She said physically, she felt as if for months in recovery, almost at least fully a year.
That didn't mean
felt like she was being tortured nonstop.
Honestly, if that's what happened and they only give me that much, whatever, honestly, I would have been better off dead. Like, and then you have to live through life to like compensate for all of that stuff that the court couldn't even give you because they rejected that. Are you serious? Are you serious? I'm like,
the ancient times, those types of torture tactics, that's what she felt. That's just the physical.
Oh my
Psychologically,
God,
the damage
bro.
was immeasurable. Both Gia and her husband Lee,
that's
they had a
irreplaceable
very
damage,
hard time
bro.
adjusting afterwards, which is
I could imagine.
understandable. Their lives changed overnight. The abruptness is what they really struggled with. Lee said he just couldn't understand how his wife had been so healthy a few hours ago, and now she's not. Now she can't brush her hair, get dressed. She can't even support the weight of her own body. She can't use the restroom when she wants. Do you know how frustrating that is? She said, my life has changed drastically. I cannot take care of my own life. I have to ask for help for everything. I have no way of getting up, lying down by myself, going to the toilet by myself, washing my face, brushing my teeth, taking a bath by myself, eating by myself. If someone leaves a cup of milk on the dining room table for me, just a little further away
Hearing
from
how much
where
of an L shorty life is, I'm thankful for. I mean, yeah, that's why, you know, it's corny as shit. Be grateful you got limbs. Be grateful, you know, you even have a roof over your head. Be grateful for everything that you have, because every day, you know, we be taking advantage of like the simple stuff. Ah, bro. Even if you know, you lost a finger, be glad that you got 4 left. Some people out here losing whole hands, whole feet, a whole foot, a whole leg. That's just crazy, bro. That's oh my gosh.
Drag it in front of me. But if I don't lift my hand well enough, or if my hand grip is not strong enough, or if I can't drag it towards me, then the glass of milk will tip over, and the milk will spill on the table, on my wheelchair, onto my pants,
yeah, be
and
grateful
flow onto the floor.
For where you at right now. Be grateful for what you got.
If I want to read a book, but the book is placed on my bedside, out of reach, I cannot read.
Oh man,
piece
bro.
after piece, failure after failure. I have incomparable frustration. I stay in the house all day long. More than 9 months straight, I did not get a day of sunshine.
Bro,
for more
it's
than
about to
9
make
months
me
straight,
like...
I lived in a contained area less than 300 square feet. I feel like a prisoner in a cage.
Y'all,
I thought of self-exiting,
I don't know when,
but I couldn't even physically do it. After 190 days of being in the hospital, Gia was discharged, but she would still need to go through extensive rehabilitation to adjust to her new life, to adjust to her prosthetics.
I'm gonna read your
which,
thing
by
after
the way,
the
when she
video,
went to the
Jay.
prosthetic center in Shanghai, they didn't even know how to help her. They had never seen this level of injuries. But she didn't give up. She said, I left home standing up. I must go home standing up. I must appear in front of my family standing up. Which makes it sound like this case is going to have a happy ending, but she would not be able to stand up. She would not walk through the front door of her home. And she said she does try her best to overcome the cards that she's dealt, but she's not happy. There were articles posted about how she's finding happiness and overcoming all of life's challenges, ready to take on whatever's thrown at her. But it doesn't really seem like that's true. It just gets clicks.
Yeah,
but the truth is,
for media, for clicks, for people's, you know, like entertainment, things like that, or like the story. But I couldn't imagine, like, you know, something like that happening to me and like being happy. Like, I'm not gonna be fucking happy. I don't know.
I'm happy that I
Like,
get
of
to
course
see
I
Miss
try,
Anything,
but
I'm sad that my home is still the same, but I'm not the same.
I don't know.
She
That's
needs
just
a large number of sleeping pills to fall asleep every night. And she said that lively and cheerful Gia that was once
WGM.
there before the accident is replaced by an irritable, emotionally violent Gia.
oh,
The likelihood
man.
that she's going to develop traumatic arthritis in her one remaining arm left is very high. Her right shoulder has been practically obliterated, that the doctors had to piece it together like a puzzle. And because nobody in Gia's personal life could relate to what she had gone through, they didn't even know how to help her. So one day her sister, Gia's sister, laid down on the train tracks.
Stop. Stop. I don't even, I'm scared to even click the play button. Stop it. Stop. I'm scared to click, bro. I don't want to finish the video. I don't want to press play. I don't, oh my God, bro. I'm
Gia's
scared.
sister laid down on the
Stop.
train tracks.
Stop.
And she waited to be run over.
Stop.
She said she just wanted to understand what Gia had gone through because she was going crazy not being able to help. Everything she thought was helping
Stop.
wasn't
I'm going
helping.
insane.
Thankfully, there were no trains on that track that day, but
Oh, thank
that
goodness.
just goes to show how desperate.
Oh,
everybody
thank goodness.
was.
Shower safe. We're safe.
And I wish I could leave you
Shower
with something
safe.
happier, but sometimes life
Oh
doesn't really
my
have
gosh.
happy
Thank
endings,
God,
and
bro. Thank God,
that
bro.
kind of seems
I was
be the
about to
case here, at least as
lose
of right
it.
now.
I was about to
I do
lose
hope
it.
that Gia is able to find happiness eventually, but
Me
that
too,
is where the
gang.
story
Me
is
too.
right now. What are your
Bro.
thoughts? Let me know down in
Praying
the
for
comments.
Gia, bro.
And please stay safe.
W
I will see you
video.
guys in the next one.
Like, comment, and subscribe. You know, you be over here on Twitch. Bro, that was W video.